live video.
Hello, this is Jefferson.
But it's facing me.
Oh.
That's what I mean.
It's facing you.
That's what I was trying to say.
There we go. Now we're live. Oh, okay. Now you can see us. Okay. This is Brent Wisner. I'm going to collect baseball cards and put his picture on it. He and I were at the Doctor's TV show talking about glyphosate and Roundup, and I was like, oh my God, who is this person? What a superhero. I just saw him perform such magic in this courtroom. It was better than any courtroom TV you ever see. Okay, Brent, first of all, congratulations. Everyone who's watching this is like, yes, yes, yes. It was amazing. So I loved your opening about what it was about by choice. You said, I read your 115-page opening statement, and I was like, yeah, it was about choice. And but the way you talked about it this time, can you just share that nugget, and then we're going to go into catching the lies.
Sure. Well, let's be clear. We haven't won anything yet. So I appreciate the congratulations, but you know, this is the hard part, is waiting for the jury to decide. But that said, yeah, I think this case is all about choice, right? Because it's not just the choices that Mr. Johnson made for himself and his family, and how that choice was robbed of him by Monsanto not warning. But it's also about Monsanto's choices, right? They've known about this risk for 20 years, and they buried it time and time and time, and the documents are overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you know, Monsanto chose to not warn because they knew they could make much more money selling this stuff if it didn't have a warning. And that's what it comes down to. When you start thinking about GMOs, we start thinking about the prevalence of the stuff being used in all of our foods, it's disturbing. It's an unacceptable corporate malfeasance, and it needs to be stopped.
So what were the nuggets where when you caught them in a lie? And what happened was, first of all, Brent spoke for an hour and 45 minutes, and then their attorney Lombardi spoke for 2 hours, and then Brent had 35 minutes to respond. And in both cases, you caught some really great nuggets of disinformation and outright lies. What were some of the ones that stuck out?
Well, I mean, the biggest one was when he was quoting Dr. Navan, right? So Dr. Navan, looked at Johnson, looked at his cancer, treated him carefully, and he said it was unquestionably caused by his exposure to Roundup. That was the only reasonable explanation. He went up there and he showed a quote from his testimony, but he didn't include the ... He didn't include the ellipsis, and that ellipsis undermined the entire point Mr. Lombardi was making. It blew my mind that he would put that up to the jury, knowing that I'm going to come up and say, the guy just lied to you. I understand why he did it. He's such a good lawyer, and he seems like he knows what he's doing. It's just a mistake, and I think the jury saw it for what it was. They went, oh my God, he didn't tell us the whole story. But you know, that's kind of what Monsanto's been doing for 20 years, right? They just look at one piece of science, or they just look at glyphosate. They don't look at the surfactant. They just look at one aspect of it. And it's just this constant repetition of EPA says it's safe, so it's safe. You know, we only look at one piece of the science. We atomize everything. It's not there, and it's just not right.
So I want to give everyone an update. This is Lee Johnson, who is a groundskeeper in a school district in the Bay Area, who was exposed to Roundup and got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and actually it appears to be terminal. We don't know, but they rushed this to the trial so that they would have a verdict before he passed away. And I met him, and he's a very sweet man, and it's a tragic story, but it's an opportunity to set the pace going forward if this turns out in his favor. Okay, and you asked for punitive damages of $373 million, and you asked for compensatory damages of about $4 million. $40 million. So that's over $400 million in what you're asking for. Irrespective of the amount, if this turns in your favor, what's next? How many people are waiting in the wings who have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or whose family members died from it who are trying to get compensation?
There's so many. And I spend my career talking to these families whose lives are devastated by this problem. I mean, devastated. Mr. Johnson is one of them. There are thousands of other people. I mean, there's 4,000 cases already.
4,000?
4,000 around the country. It's outrageous. And so obviously this is the first one to go to trial. And the truth is, we went to trial on a fraction of what we know. Right? I have all of these other documents that we're not able to use yet because we haven't been able to ask a witness about it at Monsanto. And they refused to bring a live human being to testify, so I have to use these video depositions. But I have so much more to go. So even if this case is unsuccessful, even if this case is unsuccessful, which I don't think it will be. I think we did a great job. I think
A little closer because it's a little noisy.
Yeah, but even if this case is unsuccessful, we have so much more for the next case. And I'm very excited about, I'm a young guy. I'm only 34 years old.
Wow.
I am willing and planning to try these cases until Monsanto stops lying. Once they stop lying, I'll move on. But if they're going to keep not warning, then I'm going to keep bringing these lawsuits, and I'm going to do it until they cry uncle, and that's the plan.
One of the great things, like I was paying a lot of attention to what you were saying, a lot of attention to what their lawyer said, and I got a little nervous when their lawyer was talking about the fact that the spray happened. The person had a rash, and the rash led to the lymphoma. And so the question was, did the spray incident where he got drenched, did that happen before? And it turns out you showed them their own document.
Right.
This was incredible. This is incredible.
Right.
So,
well, it was hilarious because he goes up there and he's like, Mr. Wisner is telling me that it happened, after that the rash, the incident happened after the rash. And that's what really happened. He lied to you. And he showed this document that supposedly showed that I misrepresented the facts. But if you just keep reading the document, it shows exactly what I said.
Amazing.
So I just brought up and said, what is he talking about? Read it. It says right here that he got exposed, and then a few months later, he got a rash. It was bonkers. It was like if you could just have the jury look at one little word, then okay, yeah, it looks right. But when you actually look at the whole picture, the whole science, which they didn't even call a scientist who looked at all the science, it's unbelievable. It's pretty clear. This stuff causes cancer.
What was really good also is like you took what Brent did is he broke down. This is what we need to do. If you want to show that it's related to cancer, there's epidemiological studies, and then there's the animal studies, the toxicological studies, and then there's the modes of action. Does it cause mutations and causing cancer? And you described in beautiful detail with great visuals how all those boxes were checked.
Yeah.
But one thing that you did was beautiful, is you said, and Monsanto did not even address these.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have addressed them?
They couldn't.
Because there was no science on their side.
They couldn't. If they put a scientist up there that said the mechanistic data doesn't support, that it causes cancer, I would have shredded that witness. Because I would have showed study after study after study that shows it's not true. And at some point, the truth, wins over, and they cried uncle on that issue. They didn't even fight it. Which is pretty interesting.
I love the fact, it was brilliant, of not just showing what they did was wrong, but showing what they didn't do and why. And another thing you said is they didn't bring a single Monsanto employee up there to tell the truth. And why was that?
Well, it's because they're afraid of me. I shouldn't say that.
They're afraid of the truth.
The truth,
Oh,
exactly, right? That's the truth. The simple fact is if they had called a live witness, I would have said, sir, are you telling this jury that you guys didn't know? Well, let me show you document. And I would just go through document after document. And at some point, the jury would be like, this person's insane. And they can't do that, right? They didn't call a single live person to look into the jury's eyes and say, it doesn't cause cancer. Because they knew that if they did it, the cross-examination would be too deadly. And if they did, and because they didn't do it, the jury can infer from that what they will, right? Now, Monsanto's protected here in California. Because they're based in St. Louis, they don't have to bring a witness here. But the next case is actually in St. Louis.
This is interesting.
So all of those people are going to be subject to subpoena, and they're going to have Donna Farmer, Dr. Goldstein, Heidens, they're all going to be hauled into court and cross-examined live in front of a jury.
I debated Donna Farmer on the Doctor's TV show,
and
she said, I'm confident in this product as a mother, and I can back it up as a scientist. Then I read the documents that your law firm got, that you got, and I read, let's find Donna Farmer, and there it was. She says, we can't say that Roundup doesn't cause cancer because the studies have not been done. And then she wrote a study taking out its link to miscarriages, and she talked about, it was like, and I called up the doctors and they said, your guest, who I debated, apparently was not as confident in private as she was on your own, and so they decided to do what they said was a 4-minute show. And then I introduced them to Brent, and they got a little bit of who this guy was, and they did a 1-hour show.
It's actually worse because Scott Partridge, who's Monsanto's spokesperson, was supposed to come and be on the show with us. And when they found out that you and I were on there, he bolted. He just sent in a written statement. It was hilarious. And it's probably smart because if he had been on the show, I would have said, Mr. Partridge, isn't it true? And I would have started asking questions, but it is what it is.
All right, so you got a last chance. We're speaking to the world here. This is going to be shared a few thousand times.
I think it's awesome you have so many supporters, and I'm happy you guys are with us in this fight, and keep supporting us.
My opinion here is that you win a class action, you decide to retire, and then we work together.
Sounds good. Let's do a study on actual Roundup, the ones that Monsanto won't do.
All right. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
pleasure. Take
All
care.
right.